Hello everybody, it's the Last Raider. We are back with another video. And today, we're still dealing with the Mass Effect stuff happening. Because you have SJWs and some developers now are coming out trying to use the tired excuse for censorship of you are just a porn fanatic and a horn dog, and that's the only reason you want this. You want to see a woman's butt. That's the only reason you want good-looking female characters, is because you just want to jack off to them, which is completely wrong in almost every aspect. But let's see how these SJW weirdos are going out. These developers are freaking out. Anyway, we have here, BioWare cut some of the questionable camera angles in Mass Effect 2, like the ones focusing on Miranda's butt, and gamers are mad. You have their examples here. Let's see what the examples are. To the devs doing Mass Effect Legendary Edition, if this is your stance on the game, and you are going to tone it down despite its M rating, you can't be trusted that other elements won't be toned down or taken out for petty reasons. You have failed this game. And this guy is correct. Okay, this is the argument that gamers are making. It's a legitimate one. To give you an example of this happening in the real world, look at the statue controversy. We ended up pulling down statues of Lincoln, Teddy Roosevelt, and Thomas Jefferson. Why? Well, the excuse from the people pulling them down is they're just white men. We need to pull down white men statues. Okay, but their contributions were good. How do you get to that point, though? How do you get to that point of pulling them down? Well, it's very simple. They don't pull down the statues they want initially. They go after statues that they can reasonably make an argument against, which is they go after the Confederate statues. Are the Confederate statues hurting anyone? No, honestly. Do the people in the town want the Confederate statues removed? Most of the time, no. Whenever one of those statues was removed, it was done in the dark of night. There was pressure mounted, and the city council, for fear of a riot, ended up pulling down the statues in the hopes that they would just go away and leave them alone. Most of the time, the people would show up. They'd vote against it. If you put it to a vote of the people in the town don't want nothing done with this. It's their town. Most of these people that are doing this are from some other place. Well, same thing about video games. Most of the people making these arguments, a lot of the times, aren't even part of the video game community. They're just these normies that look in, see something they don't like, and they want something changed. Eventually, they will change other things. Okay? For those that are wondering, you would not ever have had a game like Ghost of Tsushima made because cultural appropriation. That was one of the arguments against Ghost of Tsushima when it first came out. Was, there's cultural appropriation in this game. Then Cyberpunk was going to come out before, and Cyberpunk failed in its own reasoning, not because of censorship, but Cyberpunk come out and was like, hey, we're putting out multiple genders. You can make whatever gender you want. And the SJWs came out and said, there's just not enough of them, but you put them in, and started in on their nonsense. It is never the type of people that game companies are trying to satisfy. 1, do not buy the games. 2, are not fans of it. And 3, are only there to make themselves feel better because the only thing they care about is destroying things. That's the only way they feel like they've accomplished something in life. They must tear something down to feel better, to feel accomplishment, because they're not doing anything in life. But you have this, and this guy here is correct. This is going to be a very slippery slope. Let's say the next example here. Just like that, I save money from not buying this remaster. I stick to my original copies. These people are so scared of female assets. Been saying that for years in video games. BioWare is a dead team due to EA ruining them, Anthem, and now this. Which is the truth. You have these companies now that are going in, and here's where you're going to go eventually. Already, PlayStation is going in there, and they are censoring out crotch shots from fighting games with solar flares and stuff like that going on. And they do, and it's eventually going to reach a point where they're going to tell game developers, and this is where it gets bad, because censorship limits creativity. Eventually, they're going to say, don't use martial arts from cultures that have high kicks. Well, we're going to censor out Korean Taekwondo, some forms of Kung Fu in China. How do you say that? Kopere? Whatever is that Jamaican dance fighting? Where they jump up on hand and spin around with their legs spread and kick people in the face. That's going to be censored out. Eventually, you're going to be stuck with boxing games. You see how this goes? You're not going to be allowed to go out there, find some cool art, find a cool martial art that's never been seen in a video game before, put it in there for fear of a crotch shot. That's where we're going with this. The censorship is going to get worse to the point, and if you notice this, it's already getting bad. Because already the censorship mentality of you don't want to put women from other countries in because that's making them into an exotic fetish. Well, we're not seeing a whole lot of good-looking black chicks. Asian chicks have almost been completely run out of games. Your protagonists now are stuck with brunette, flat-chested, lesbian-looking chick. You don't believe me? They've done it with Lara Croft. They've done it with Ellie from Last of Us Part 2. Vikings female character does the same thing. Assassin's Creed's Valhalla does the same thing. Assassin's Creed, both their two games, the female protagonist was just a brown-haired, lesbian-looking chick. Not very impressive. It's the same. She's always got her hair back in a ponytail. It's the same average-looking bitch. That's it. You're limiting the creativity. Back when I was a kid, you could tell the franchise by the protagonist. They all looked unique. They were always trying to make the next big protagonist. Now it's cookie-cutter female protagonist, toss her into a game, somewhat mechanics. But I mean, this is a stupid mentality, mind you, that is being permeated now with developers. You got here Josh Sawyer, and this guy was the one who helped build Fallout New Vegas, one of my more favorite games. He's a bit of a hypocrite right now in this nonsense. To all gamers who are brokenhearted by this, if you go to Google and type in porn or butt porn, you will find pictures of naked butts and more. And this is supposed to be like an SJW gotcha. But when you realize when you realize the magic of Pornhub that's out there, you can look up anything you want on Pornhub, pretty much. You realize this is just really a moot point. This is just one of those little straw men. Okay, all you want is you just want your naked chicks. That's it. You just want something to fap to, dude. Like I said, Pornhub. You go on Pornhub, you can get the really weirdest hentai tentacle crap that you want to look at. All right. It is not impossible for these people to find porn. This is not the 1980s, okay? Where you're sneaking into your uncle's room to get his Playboy, all right? This is the 2020s. Free porn has been a thing for almost 3 decades now. Everyone knows how to find it. Everyone knows where it is. But people like Josh Sawyer here are trying to make themselves look better by saying, y'all can just go find porn. You're just there because you're wanting free sex stuff. You're just wanting some free porn. No, that's not what it is, okay? We understand that you are going to keep doing this. You are going to keep letting the censorship happen as a developer to the point that it will eventually wear down the development of the game. The graphics are going to get worse in video games. You don't believe me? Street Fighter has been taking out nips, and they've done the nips. They're going to, any character that had nipples showing through her shirt, Cammy, for instance, the major downgrade, eventually they'll come back in and say, well, you know what, we can reduce boob size. We can reduce butt size. We can take away jiggle physics. You're taking graphic content. You are taking visual content that required someone to come up with a coding for that out of a game. Eventually, you're going to keep going with it. You're not going to stop at that. You're going to keep going. Now we got to make these characters, we got to put them in long flowing robes, these women, so you can't tell what their sexuality is. Let me tell some of the people right now. This may be a little racist, but I'm just going to go out and point this out. The one group of countries that are doing this right now, the one culture that is doing that right now, putting women in robes and stuff where you can't tell their sexuality, is the one group of people that is breeding the most extremists and the most people that separate their body into tiny pieces at high velocity at the cost of other people's lives. Okay? And I'm trying my best to avoid the YouTube algorithm right there. And it's funny having this guy over here, Josh Sawyer, telling everybody what they should and shouldn't do, when this is his game right here. But if you still don't believe me in terms of them wanting to go to graphical obscurity, in other words, a reduce in the game's performance, let me show you something here. On YouTube, if I can get YouTube here. Okay, we got YouTube. No, I do not want a free trial. Fuck you, YouTube. This is Anita Sarkeesian on Feminist Frequency. Listen to what she praises in the game known as the Skian. Listen. Or Scythian.
Tells a traditional yet emotionally resonant story, proving that you don't need technically impressive graphics to create a world worth exploring and a tale worth telling. In fact, the level of detail is so low in our pixelated protagonists, and our tendency to assume that heroes are male by default is so widely reinforced, that some players have made the mistake of assuming the Scythian is male, at least initially.
And to Anita, that is a good thing. Reducing graphics to such a degree that if you were to show this character to someone upside down, they wouldn't know what the fuck it was. SJWs are going to drive the performance of games down, and they're going to do it with censorship. They're going to deny... Right now, I guarantee you, there are story elements you cannot go to in video games. Anita has pitched a fit before about, I believe it's Watch Dogs, where you go into a facility and they're telling the story about how you're taking down a sex trafficking ring. And one of the scenes in there, you see the chicks up there being so badly objectified. It's kind of I justify that scene by going back to the 80s with MacGyver, because in there MacGyver mentions something very important. I think it's like episode 2 or 3 where he goes to another country. It's about like Vietnam, and he's going in there to stop a warlord from getting weapons. That's his job. His warlord is going to turn a helicopter he's got into a gunship, which is going to make him more dangerous. So the U.S. decided to send MacGyver in there to stop him. MacGyver gets in there and he looks up and he sees these Viet Cong people being used as just free labor. And he says, slavery, it is just a word until you see it in action. And the thing about video games is it gives us the ability to see the weight of what is happening. That form of visual representation right there can show you the disgusting nature that some people can do. And it also teaches people morally that this is wrong. That mission in Watch Dogs probably made more men respect women than anything SJWs has ever put out. What they want to do is they want to reduce graphics to where we can't tell proper stories in games, where we can't have proper physics systems in games, where the performance of the game is so freaking low that Cyberpunk is a awesome design with its buggy mess. Anyway, folks, I'm The Last Raider. Be sure to like, comment, and subscribe to the channel if you're not subscribed. Hit the bell for notification. Tell me what you think in the comments. Do you think we need to stop the censorship, or are you fine with it? And as always, stay safe, stay frosty. I'll see you guys in the next video. Bye-bye now.